Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Growing Together, a garden story where beginner gardeners come to grow. Y'all, it is bright and early this morning. The sun's not up. I don't need my sunglasses, nor do I need my hat. I'm trying to beat the heat. But I wanted to show you guys how I'm going to use the Florida weave to better support my dwarf tomatoes this fall so that I don't have the disaster that I had this spring with all of my dwarf tomatoes. This is the bed that I've been using for my dwarf tomatoes. You can see I already have my T-post driven in right here. So obviously I have the larger T-post as an anchor. I did angle it out just a little bit just to make sure that it didn't fold in as the weight begins to pull on it. Then I have a little bit smaller T-post for the center, and I am going every 2 tomatoes. Show y'all that in just a minute. So I've driven these in the ground. I do have hardware cloth in the bottom of these raised beds to prevent moles. I have a problem with moles from getting up into my raised beds. So I had to really pound these through to bust through the hardware cloth in the bottom. But that is going to be my framework for this Florida weave. And then the only other thing I need is this poly twine. I'm going to use this to encase the tomatoes, and then obviously a knife to cut the string as I go. Y'all, look at my basil. This basil is growing absolutely fantastic. And in fact, I'm going to have to do some trimming, some harvesting of this basil just so that you all can see what I'm doing. I've already harvested hard off of this basil 3 times, I believe, since I planted it just, I guess, 5 weeks ago. Super growth. This is proof that if you keep harvesting it, you will make it bush out and have much more production. But let me clean that up. Also going to clean up this lettuce. Y'all, this is giant Caesar. It is hot, so hot, and it is doing so well. And then I don't remember what these are. Let's see. I'm gonna have to trim them up too. But you can see this lettuce is really growing tall. It's absolutely insane. Looks like I forgot to label that. Imagine that. And then this is the Lolo Rosso. This is a beautiful lettuce. But let me get these trimmed up a little bit so that you guys can see a little bit better as I'm putting my Florida weave on all of these dwarf tomatoes. All right, hopefully y'all can see a little better what I've got going on here. With this Florida weave, I have seen a couple different ways to do this as I've watched some YouTube to understand better what I need to do. So I have these very firmly staked in the ground. That's going to be our support system, our framework, if you will, for our Florida weave. My tomatoes are a foot, some of them a little taller than a foot. So I'm going to go, because this is the first weave through, I'm just going to go about halfway. Now these dwarf tomatoes, they do typically have a very sturdy and thick main stem. And so you can wait a little bit longer. Maybe if you have some tomatoes that are a little more spindly by nature, probably want to hit them a little sooner. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie off my string here on this post, and then I'm going to weave it through. Now I see some people that'll just come on one side, go around and come back on the other side, keeping the string tight. that probably works perfectly fine, but that gives your plants a chance to go side to side. And I don't want to do that. I want to encase them. I want to actually use a weave system to make sure that my tomatoes can't go this way, nor can they go this way. Now we're ready to put on our string to our trellis. Y'all, I bought this box of tomato twine. This is it's a poly twine. I think it'll hold up better. I tried to use some of that cotton tomato twine for some things this spring, and within just a few months, couple months, I guess, it was rotted and breaking. So I'm going to try this poly twine. I did buy the one in the box. It pulls out the top. Seems convenient. I guess we're going to find out together if I like that or not. So what I do want to point out with my framework, my T-post, you can maybe you can see these are the T-posts. They have knobs on the outside, and so what I want to do is make sure that I get the knobs to where my string will actually get a bite. What we do not want is for our string sliding up and down, especially on our outside post, because we don't want it to slide up and down on the tomatoes. So I'm just going to I'm not going to get fancy with this at all. I'm just going to tie a granny knot. That's what we call it here in the South, in Texas. But I'm going to judge where I want. Now, all of my tomato plants right now are probably 18 inches. A couple of them maybe 2 foot. So I'm just going to go about 3/4 of the way up. I don't think I need 2 rows right now. These dwarf tomatoes, the stems are usually very thick and hardy, and so they're already pretty well supported at this point. So I'm going to go about 3/4 of the way up for my first run of string. So again, I'm not going to get super fancy, just judging my height here. Wrap that around. I do want to leave some slack on the end. You'll see why in a minute. But let's tie triple granny knot. How about that? So I don't think that's pulling loose. Again, the knobs on the outside are going to help my string not slide up and down on the post. Now, what we want to do, I have seen a couple of ways of doing this. Some people will just run down one side straight, come down the other side. And I feel like that probably does a good job of keeping your plants from moving this way, but does no good at them moving this way. So I want to go ahead and truly weave them in. What I found in the spring, these dwarf tomatoes, they can grow super amounts, large amounts of tomatoes and get very heavy. And they were just all falling over everywhere in the spring. So I want to trap them with the actual weave. I don't want them going this way either. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start this first one. Hopefully you can see it behind this beautiful Lolo Rosso lettuce, but I'm going to bring my string on this side of the first tomato. Then I'm going to bring my string, as you can see, it's on my side of the second tomato. My spacing here, after what I learned in the spring, I'm going 18 inches. I've only got 6 tomatoes in this bed. So with my center post, I'm going every other tomato. So now when I'm here, I'm going to wrap around this post, which may prove challenging, but what I'm doing is I'm holding the string tight. We want to keep our string tight all the time, and I'm just going to raise it up and over and then make sure that string is tight. Then I'm going to continue on to the next 2 tomatoes. This string is as tight as I can probably make it to keep it from, pulling the post in. So on this next one, I'm going to come on the inside, my side of this tomato. On the second one, I'm going to go on the outside of the tomato. And then, same thing. Keeping my string as tight as I can keep it. I'm going to wrap around this T-post. Need some slack there. All right. And then make sure that string is good and tight. And then continue on. Y'all, my string keeps getting caught up in my basil. All right, for these 2, again, I'm going to, because of the way it came off, it's just only natural to come on the inside of this tomato plant, outside of that tomato plant, and then again, wrap around my T-post. Oh, these taller ones are a little more difficult, but you can still reach. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 wraps because it's the end T-post, and I really don't want this slipping. So again, this string is tight. Now, on our way back, we want to go on the opposite side. So on this one, the string is on the camera side of the tomato. So as I make this pass, it's going to put the string on my side of the tomato and then flop over this one to the other side. So what we're doing is we're encasing these tomato plants in the weave. And same thing, keeping your string as tight as you can keep it, up and over for our wrap. Kind of make sure that's good and tight so y'all can see just how tight that string is, hopefully. On this tomato, the string, the first pass is on your side of the plant. So I'm going to come on my side of the plant, and I'm going to go on your side of the plant. And then I'm going to make another wrap. Y'all, I'm not hating the box. It's working out. Maybe it works better than the roll. The roll might be rolling around. So make my wrap around my T-post. Again, I'm just going to make sure that is as tight as I can get it. I want to encase these very well. On this next one, the string is on my side. So this time I'm going to take it on your side and then my side. And now I'm back to the end. This time I'm going to do just like I did on the other end. I'm going to go with 2 wraps. So make sure that's good and tight. Now let's go ahead and get it that second wrap. Maybe there's a better way to do that. I think I grabbed on the wrong side. Yeah, I lost a little tension there. There we go. All right, so very, very tight. Now take your knife, your scissors, whatever. Make sure when you cut this that you are cutting it and giving yourself plenty of space to tie your knot. And what I'm actually going to do, I don't know if y'all can see this or not, but I'm going to wrap it a couple times around my strings, come around the post. Then I'm taking the tag end from the original knot, and I'm going to tie my granny knots, triple, quadruple, whatever granny knots here. One thing about this poly twine, it frays. I think that's a problem. Kind of makes it a little difficult to tie a good knot, but we got it. So that's how we're going to use the Florida weave to hold up our tomatoes. I'm already liking it. Everything I've watched on YouTube and studied up on this, this is a great system. As these plants get taller, we'll just keep adding on layers of string. These 3 here are Loxton Last tomatoes. They don't get really, really tall. 3, maybe 4 feet tall. They do put on beautiful, tasty yellow tomatoes, but I don't think they're going to outgrow my framework. The Fred's tie-dye, I'm not real sure about. They may get really tall, I'm not sure, but what I can do is take PVC and I'll stack PVC on top of this to extend it if necessary to keep these supported. But that's what I'm doing with the Florida weave. Hopefully this does a better job of supporting my dwarf tomatoes, hoping that having only 6 rather than 15 may help as well. Maybe these guys will thrive a little better. They did produce tons and tons of tomatoes in the spring, but I just couldn't keep them healthy because I had too many stacked in here. 6 is plenty for this bed, and I think the Florida weave is going to be the way it's going to support them and help them grow. Here's another look from the other side. You can really see how that weave that I'm doing is entrapping these tomatoes. And again, got that very, very tight. And that should help hold them up, and I will keep adding layers of the Florida weave string as they grow taller. All right, y'all, as you can probably tell behind me, the sun is up and it's already getting hot. So I'm going to get out of here. I just wanted to show you guys the Florida weave, how I'm going to use it to support my dwarf tomatoes. Hopefully this goes better than it did in the spring. I think spacing the tomatoes out much more, 6 rather than 15 tomato plants in this bed is probably going to be beneficial. But I think the Florida weave is really going to help support these dwarf tomatoes as they don't get exceptionally tall. And so I think that will do best for me. I'm going to keep y'all informed as I go, and we'll all learn together. Never stop learning, y'all. Never stop growing. Thanks for watching. Man, this basil's growing wild. It's crazy. You can really tell how if you keep harvesting it, it keeps getting bushier and bushier. You get more basil. Love it.